I'm his chief of staff.
Listen, nobody, not even the president, will tell me I have to do anything. It's a free country. If you want a letter, if you want to invite me,
invite him and then you will.
But one day, sir, say I judge that. He's our leader. Nothing will happen.
When former Kaduna State Governor Malam Nasir El-Rufai reportedly declared that nobody can arrest me, not even Tinubu, it wasn't just a statement, it was a political grenade. To understand this moment, we need context. El-Rufai was one of the strong northern voices who backed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the 2023 elections. He played a visible role in mobilizing support across the north. But after the elections, things changed. He was nominated for a ministerial position, and then Senate withheld the confirmation, citing security concerns. Since then, his relationship with the center of power appears strained. So when he says in quote, not even Tinubu, he's not just talking about arrest, he's sending a message. In Nigerian politics, statements like these are rarely literal. Legally speaking, no president personally arrests anyone. Law enforcement agencies under constitutional processes do. So this isn't about legal immunity. This is about political power. By invoking the president's name directly, El-Rufai transforms any potential investigation into a political confrontation. It becomes, in quote, if anything happens to me, it's political. That's strategic for me. It positions him as a man unafraid of intimidation. After elections, power blocks shift. Influence is renegotiated. Some allies grow stronger, others lose proximity to power. El-Rufai's statement may signal frustration with how things have unfolded since 2023, or it may be a calculated move to remain politically relevant. There's also a regional undertone to this. Northern political elites are very sensitive to perceived marginalization. By taking a defiant stance, El-Rufai reinforces his image as a northern power broker who cannot be pushed aside quietly. This is bigger than one comment. It reflects tension beneath the surface. But here is the bigger issue. When Nigerian political conversations revolve around who can arrest who, it shows how personalized power has become. Instead of focusing on institutions, we focus on personality. Is this healthy for democracy, or does it reveal a deeper problem within the system? Because ultimately, in a constitutional democracy, no one should be above the law. Not a governor, not a former governor, not even a president. But recent political developments in Nigeria are increasingly interpreted, especially by opposition figures, as part of a broader pattern of intimidation and selective enforcement by federal government and allied state actors. Example of such pattern is the Malami case, a former attorney general and key legal figure in previous administrations who defected from the ruling Bola Ahmed Tinubu aligned All Progressive Congress to join the ADC as part of the opposition coalition. This defection itself sent political ripples as it signaled a prominent insider becoming a vocal critic of the administration's policies and directions. His role within the ADC highlights how the opposition is trying to reposition itself as a credible alternative to the ruling party in the 2027 general elections, bringing together figures from across party lines including Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and El-Rufai himself. Malami's convoy was violently attacked in Kebbi State during what he described as a condolence visit, an event that has since been the subject of competing narratives. Malami and supporters say it was political intimidation by agents aligned with the APC, meant to signal that opposition figures are unwelcome and vulnerable to violence. APC leaders deny involvement and blame the incident on thugs or mischaracterization, insisting Kebbi remains peaceful and that Malami's claims are politically motivated. Regardless of the true actors, the perception of political violence feeds into a narrative, especially among opposition supporters, that the state apparatus is being used to undermine dissent. More so, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission (EFCC) detained Malami over alleged violations tied to his former public office. That in itself would be a normal legal process if pursued impartially. However, the ADC and other opposition figures claim that this enforcement appears selective and politically motivated, especially since similar allegations against other high-profile figures like Yahaya Bello of Kogi State within the ruling party have not led to the same treatment. ADC leaders have publicly decried this as a threat to the rule of law and an attempt to curb opposition ahead of the 2027 general election. Such claims have been amplified by party officials who see Malami's detention and the condition placed on his bail as an attempt to restrict his political mobility, potentially hindering his ambitions and signaling to other opposition activists that joining the ruling fold might be safer. This event, Malami's attack, his detention, crackdowns on opposition activity, and the ADC growing mobilization are being framed by many critics, notably Atiku Abubakar, as part of a coordinated assault on dissenting voices under the Tinubu administration. Atiku has warned that this trend threatens democratic norms and risks sliding Nigeria closer to authoritarianism. From the perspective of the opposition, arrest and legal action against defectors and opponents look politically motivated, not constitutionally grounded. Violence or intimidation tactics against opposition convoys feed into fears that the state or ruling party are leveraging security weaknesses for partisan ends. This narrative resonates strongly with many Nigerians who already feel bad by economic hardship and insecurity, reinforcing fears that dissent is being suppressed just when alternative voices need space to grow. So El-Rufai's bold claim that nobody can arrest me in quotes, not even Tinubu, takes on deeper resonance. It's not merely rhetorical bravado. Within the current political climate, it reflects a pushback against perceived weaponization of state power against critics. Secondly, it shows a declaration of political resilience amid fears of repression from the ruling party. And thirdly, it is a signal to other dissenting elites that they are not isolated or powerless. In other words, El-Rufai is amplifying a core opposition concern that Nigeria's political environment has become hostile to dissent, while aligning himself with the broader coalition contesting the ruling party's influence. There are two key forces shaping this moment. One, legal and political actions against prominent opposition figures, including Malami, which are widely interpreted by critics as selective and intimidating rather than impartial. A broader narrative of democratic erosion where opposition growth, particularly via the ADC, is seen as a threat by the ruling establishment. Together, these dynamics help explain why El-Rufai's deviant declaration has such rhetorical and symbolic power. It taps into a growing perception that the playing field is uneven and that opposition voices must boldly claim their space or risk being sidelined entirely. While it is important for state institutions to carry out their constitutional duties, they must be seen to do so fairly, transparently, and without political bias. In any democracy, institutions such as the judiciary, anti-corruption agencies, and the security services derive their legitimacy not just from legal authority but from public trust. When actions taken against political figures, whether from the ruling party or the opposition, appear selective, the perception quickly shifts from law enforcement to political enforcement. That perception alone can damage democratic stability, even if due process is technically followed. In the current climate, where figures like Nasir El-Rufai and former Attorney General Abubakar Malami have become vocal outside the core power cycle, any legal scrutiny directed at them is inevitably interpreted through a political lens. Supporters may see it as accountability. Critics may frame it as retaliation. For institutions to avoid being viewed as tools of the sitting administration under Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they must demonstrate consistency. That means applying the same standards across party lines, ensuring transparency in investigations. Democracy does not suffer when institutions act. It suffers when citizens lose confidence in their neutrality. The true test of institutional strength is not how it treats opponents, but whether it applies the law evenly, even when it is inconvenient to those in power. This is Impact Media. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. I'll see you again in the next one. Thank you for listening.